This is Dennis Raimondi with the Coffee League, found at thecoffeeleague.com. My guest today, Mikaela Gervard, who is a expert in specialty coffee. She has quite a background. She's originally from Finland, now living in Denmark, in Copenhagen, and working with Coffee Collective, one of the great cafes and roasters in the world. I recently had someone on who travels worldwide, going to cafes, and I asked them their favorite, and they said the Coffee Collective, and I wouldn't argue with that because I've been there, and it's always on the level of perfection there. Mikaela has two national championship wins in her name in the Brewers Cup in Finland, and she has gone on to win several other awards, is a judge, and involved in all areas of coffee. And then I believe now human resources head at the Coffee Collector. Mikaela, thank you so very much for taking the time to talk with me today.
No, it's awesome. Thank you so much for having me.
So let me ask you, you obviously have a great passion for coffee. We even talked about this a little bit before we went on air. What brought you to coffee? Is it something you're from Finland? Is it something you were exposed to early in life? And how did you come to actually make a profession out of it?
That's a great question. I think I kind of fell into it, like a lot of people say. Coffee in Finland is a huge cultural thing, or how would you say it? We drink coffee at every second. There's a chance for it. We even have a law kind of stating that there needs to be 2 coffee breaks a day. So 20 minutes of a workday is devoted for a coffee. So it's a huge social part of the culture we have. So it's everywhere, and you smell coffee at all places. So it's been around, and filter coffee is definitely the one we have. So I just kind of got into it by a little bit by accident. I didn't really like it. It tasted horrible. I think I even ruined one of my mom's coffee makers by trying to make hot chocolate in it instead of coffee. That would have been so much more sweeter. But then I got into coffee in college as a summer job, and I got to this really nice espresso bar. And I didn't drink coffee when I started, and I just thought, wow, I cannot be here selling a product that I don't drink. I have no clue what I'm doing. So with the assistance of my coworkers, who were very passionate and very geeky in the point 2006 this was, so coffee was kind of just coming into Helsinki, and I was so impressed by their preciseness and wanting to make the coffees delicious. So I kind of just started slowly with a very sweet kind of coffee mochas and lattes and stuff like this, and then slowly started leaving off the sugar and the syrups, and now I'm all about the filter coffees. It's been a long process.
What does your daily coffee consumption look like? What type of
Oh
coffee
no.
and when?
So I can't get out of bed without thinking about the coffee I'm gonna brew. So I get up. I bring the Copenhagen tap water is horrible. It's full of calcium, so you can't really use it. So I'm really lucky to work in a place we have a filter, so I can bring reverse osmosis water home. So I bring that. I boil that up on my stove, and right now I'm using AeroPress every morning to make myself a cup. And then, of course, when I come to work, right now I'm working at the office at the Coffee Collective with the human resources. So I go through our coffee shop downstairs, which is at the roastery location. And of course, I need to get a big jug of Kalida wave filter coffee from downstairs, often brewing myself because I just cannot keep my hands off doing and making the coffee for myself. I just love it now that I'm only in the office. And then, of course, in the afternoon, it's either an espresso or another filter. So I would say it's 3-4 cups a day at this moment, which is, I think, pretty good.
That's about what I have. I have the unusual habit of having a cup of coffee before I go to bed at night, which some people think is insane, but seems to only calm me down. What is the coffee culture like in Finland? When somebody goes to a cafe, Do they like to spend time there, chat with friends? Do they go there more to be alone? What is the culture sort of like there?
It's a bit of both, but I would say mostly you do also meet friends, or you meet for to study, and or maybe you're mostly driven by your caffeine needs, which I think all of us have a bit of a problem with. Um, so coffee shops in Helsinki are quite small in size if we're talking about independent shops. Um, and they're very, very lovely. People like to have their privacy. They like to have their space. In Finland, we're I think we're a little bit known for having our private space. So I think a lot of people don't mind going by themselves, reading the paper, yeah, listening to a podcast, enjoying a coffee. Often in Finland, if you go out and you order a coffee, you do order espresso-based drinks because we have filter machines at home. Everybody basically has a mocha master or a filter machine at home, and so then if you go to a cafe and you want to taste something, maybe you order like a hand drip or a drip coffee that is then made in a different way. Of course, we have also batch brews and a lot of filter coffees are sold. Um, but maybe the one who's very into specialty coffee, then they want it to be brewed by hand or having an espresso-based drink just to enjoy the luxury of having an espresso machine in made by or worked with as a professional.
Mm-hmm. Mikaela, getting back to you now and your journey in coffee. So you went from having a slight interest to a greater interest to a greater appreciation of coffee, and then you actually began to compete. And I know these competitions are very serious, and the people that go into them they're like great chefs. To me, a great barista, a great roaster is like a 5-star chef, and a tremendous amount of focus and detail goes into it. What compelled you to start competing, and what was that experience like for you?
So I started competing because I was working as a full-time barista, really enjoying my job. But of course, when you're a barista working for somebody else, you always follow their recipe. You kind of get into your little flow, and you're kind of report. I don't know what is that word. Like a little machine. You just follow what's there to do. And then I thought, to be able to do what I would, not what I would like, but I would like to challenge myself a little bit. I would have to take it out the bar. And I thought, why not to do it in a competition? Kind of test, use the coffees that I love, but maybe change the recipes up a little bit. See what can I do with that same coffee and bring another flavor perspective out of it. And also just to challenge myself of not being so comfortable behind the bar in that customer server and customer role, but to be a presenter and advocate for specialty coffee. So I competed in Finland for the first time. Was it 2014? And I think I came last in the Brewers Cup at the national competition. I sucked. I was so nervous. My hands shook so much, and I was like, I was fine with that. I didn't have any expectation. I just wanted to do it for the sake of stepping out of my comfort zone. But then the judges' feedback, there's always the debriefing at the end. And it was so encouraging. And it was so important just to have some proper feedback and realize how much it's not just talking and brewing, but it's actually following the rules of the competition. And I've been competing in sports before. And when I kind of realized that there's rules and I could figure them out and follow them, that just got me so much more excited for the next year to come. So then I competed again, and I really read all the rule books and every point, and so it kind of made it a game for myself with the score sheet and the rules. And that year, 2015, it went really well, and I won the first time the Finnish Brewers Cup.
Right, and Mikaela, have you found in your experience in competition and in the coffee industry in general that it's been male dominated and it's been more difficult, and there are certain challenges for women? And because I know you are involved in an organization for women in coffee, and so I think I'd like to hear what your experience has been, and if it's if it's changing, if it's evolved, if it's gotten better, and what have the challenges been, and what do you see going forward?
So competing in Finland, and in Finland we're quite equal, I would say, in genders. We still have a lot to work with, but I would say we're in a good spot. Women and men work side by side in coffee shops. The wages are pretty much the same. Women can also be leaders and managers, and so I actually haven't experienced so much within coffee. Always in the competition, maybe there's less women than men. One third is female contestants, and then 2/3 male. But in Finland, I've seen women competing, which is really, really encouraging. It's amazing to have kind of role models there. In the worlds, then I can really see that there's so much less women competing on the world level, and even less getting on the top six or the final six. So, and all the years I've been following the competitions, that unfortunately hasn't changed on the world level. But what I keep hearing from the judges who judge internationally the national competitions in Europe, it seems that there are still more and more women competing, but they just maybe don't win the competition. So I don't know what the gap is and what the reasons are, and why then the women that we have in the worlds don't make it to the top.
And tell us about Barista Connect, how that came about and what the focus is there.
Yeah, so Barista Connect is founded by my friend Sonia Sedgwick, who comes from here, Denmark, in Aarhus, another big city here. And she's worked with coffee for a long time. She's 2 times Danish national barista champion and 1 time Austrian barista champion. And in Aarhus, there's many good cafes. And she started the whole Barista Connect because she felt like there wasn't that many women working behind the bar in these specialty coffee shops. And there was no women in the competitions at that point in Denmark. So she just wanted to bring coffee women together and have a talk, kind of talk about competition, but also kind of educate each other and just to network. And that's how Barista Connect got started in 2015. And it was very small, 12 people. Even when I was kind of getting the invite to, if I wanted to participate just as a listener, I was thinking, no, not sure what this is going to be about. But I thought, I'm a girl working with coffee, so this is definitely an event that I should attend. And that 12 people event has changed actually my career and my coffee life tremendously. Those 12 people that I met 2015 are really strong industry contacts for me today. And I'm so proud that now it's the 4th time we're setting Barista Connect, and I'm part of the organization now, or part of organizing it more. And we're going to be in Melbourne actually next month, so in March 2018. So we're excited to bring it from Europe to Australia to see how the women's sector is there and what are they doing and who's doing what, and also just to learn from other professionals in our industry at once.
And if somebody listening to this podcast wants to connect with Barista Connect, wants to find out more, wants to get involved, how do they do that?
So we have a website called baristaconnect.com. That's where our events are posted. There's always info on who's been speaking and programs and stuff like that. And then on Facebook, I think you can just find us on Barista Connect. Instagram is Barista. What do you call that? Down slash kind of.
Backslash.
Yes, Barista / and Connect. And so definitely come and follow us.
Yeah, that'll all be posted on the podcast as well. I want to mention that I've been traveling a lot, visiting cafes all over. My wife and I probably been to about 300 cafes in the last few months. And we're in southern Florida now, Miami, this area. And I have noticed as I travel, especially in this area now, the percentage of women that are baristas is at least half, and I've noticed more people of color, more diversity in sort of not the stereotypical male barista, but there's a real cross section, a real diversity that's developing, and I think it's very important that it's focused on. I think Barista Connect. Congratulations, that's a great focus to have, and then anybody listening in that wants to move into the industry or any aspect of it, it would be a great place to start, I would think. Mikaela, tell us about your job at Coffee Collective in Copenhagen, and tell people a little bit about Coffee Collective. It's at a pretty amazing place, and Copenhagen is an amazing city when it comes to coffee and coffee culture.
Yes, so yeah, Copenhagen is an amazing city for flavor in general. We're full of restaurants, amazing bars, and really, really, really good coffee, of course. Coffee Collective is now 10 years old. Actually, we just had our 10-year party. Established by four guys who were co-workers from before, and they saw a gap in the market. They were really focused on quality coffee. They wanted to do a transparent trade, and they felt like people in Copenhagen, they were really willing to actually pay for that quality. So that's kind of what they established the company for, was to focus on quality, transparency, and then creating these new exceptional coffee experiences for the customers. And 10 years later, it's actually what we're doing today. We are 4 coffee shops now and a coffee roastery. We buy our coffee beans as directly as possible from farmers. We have, I would say, about 10, 12 different farmers that we work with, and our whole point is to go and return to the same farmers or the same co-ops or factories again and again and again, because we find that the sustainability of that relationship is what matters for us, but it matters definitely for the farmer too. So kind of having having that relationship as real and as direct is very important for us. And so we roast our coffees here in Copenhagen. We're now about 60 people in our company, in our 4 coffee shops and in our office and roastery. So it's pretty amazing, growing 20 people just last year. And yeah, I'm responsible of human resources, so all the hiring, wages, welfare for our staff, training, a lot of that kind of things.
Great. Well, Mikaela, I have to ask you this question. When you hire somebody to work in coffee, let's say you hire somebody to be a barista, what are you looking for?
So I look for a person who is motivated to work for us. So saying that they have some knowledge of what Coffee Collective is about, what about us is that they want to learn or they want to be part of. So usually I would expect people to do a bit of research so they can see if our values match or if our goals match. And that's very important for me. Attitude, good ethics, because we're very focused on the trade part and being fair and square and sustainable. So of course the ethics are very important. And then I don't know, it's funny way to say, but energy, positive energy, and customer service skills. It's so important how you met, how you as a customer, how you met when you go and you buy something. And to me, that's just very, very important in the hiring process already, to kind of see that if this person has also the qualities of a service person. And then it's great to have, we're quite lucky to get people with previous skill, working behind the bars and working with coffee before. But also we've hired people with no experience, because we can also train people to learn make coffee. Right. But attitude, motivation, and ethics, I would say, are quite important.
Yeah, I wanted to ask about that. When somebody, say, becomes a barista or a roaster there, do they go through a specific training program? Because I've been a coffee collective many times. My wife is from Gothenburg, Sweden. It's not that far away, so I spend time every year, almost every year. I go to Copenhagen. It's one of my first stops. And when I go there, I know no matter who the barista is, I know I'm going to get a very, very good coffee experience. And there are other places like that. There are some places, though, where it's very inconsistent. If you hit the right barista, you'll get a good cup of coffee. If you get the wrong, some cafes don't seem to have a consistent training program. Do you have a consistent training program like that? And how important is that to Coffee Collective?
Yes, we do, and I'm so happy that you've had great experiences with us. The barista is the face of the company, right? And it is every and each of those encounters that matter. So we actually train all the staff before they step into the bar. And it's a lot of resources, of course, to use. We use a lot of time in the hiring process. We don't do at the moment any trial shifts, actually. So we hire up and we really trust that person we've chosen, and we use over 10 hours of training before they step into the bar. And before they step into the bar, they go through all the recipes, they work on a machine, they brew filter coffees, they also get to know the company and why we were established and all these basic things, talk about the way we trade, the way we buy green beans. So kind of all the core things are already taught before people step into the bar. And then in the bar, the 2 first days are following days when our barista is an extra person, the new person, and they're taught through all the workflow, all the products, using register, and just having this a bit more easy step to start makes such a difference. Because if you're stressed out, you're thrown into the deep end, you're not going to give a great service because you don't know what the hell you're doing. But also, if you're very stressed out, you're not going to brew a really good coffee. So we've been kind of taking the steps a bit slower and making sure that the new person is well taken care of. They know what they're doing, and they're going to be so much more confident to brew.
Yeah, the results are there because, and I say this because it's my experience. I go there with the confidence that each barista is going to be doing an outstanding job. The other thing I look for when I go into a cafe, and I go into many, I look at the equipment, and then I look, does the barista look like they're enjoying what they're doing and they love coffee? And they love talking about coffee, and I love serving coffee. And usually that for me is the best signal. Hey, this is going to be a good experience. There's a happiness in what they do, and it seems like that's something you already mentioned you look for in hiring somebody, that they have a love for what they're doing.
Definitely, and it's very important to also notice that type of customers that you are, for example, that give kind of be able to notice that you would like to hear a bit more, or you would like to be shown around, or having that skill also to notice different types of customers and maybe what they would like and what they enjoy is very, very important. And I hope that our baristas are able to do that. We have very different kind of coffee shops, and some of them are very, very busy and a bit more a takeaway style of a bar. Or we have here at the roastery, we have a big bar where we have a lot of seats and a bit more like a table service style. So there's multiple different outlets as well to kind of interact with the customer and try to figure out what we can provide a bit better for them.
Right. I wanted to also ask you, I think this is a bigger issue in the U.S., but big companies are coming in and buying, like they bought Intelligentsia, Stumptown. They're taken over by large corporations. Ultimately, do you think that's good or bad for specialty coffee? There's a lot of people that feel that, look, this should be something that's more local, and we shouldn't have these big conglomerates coming in. It's not just in specialty coffee. There are many industries, but I'm wondering what your thoughts are about that.
Yeah, here we see espresso house taking over. buying a lot of smaller businesses. So in Copenhagen, we have a lot of Espresso House, which is a Swedish brand, and then Starbucks is also in quite a few locations. To be honest, I think they're good in a way that the more there's coffee shops, the more there's going to be baristas wanting to work there, and those places are some of the kind of what would you call entryway coffee jobs for a lot of people. What one of that kind of bars was also my first step into coffee, and I don't think that's all bad because you kind of get often a very good training. They have a very good training systems. Also, their workflow is quite good, and they're very focused on customer service because the quality of the drink is not often the focus. So they focus on customer service and workflow. And if you then get a bit more kick and you get into the flavor part, you usually seek jobs somewhere else a bit later, maybe. And then you already kind of learn some basic things, and workflow is one of the important things, and customer service as well. So I think actually maybe there's going to be more and more qualified coffee people because they have started at these places first.
That's a good point. And then if they really want to specialize, go up, they can do that. One
Yeah.
other thing I wanted to ask you, Mikaela, was we talked about women in coffee and the work you're doing with Barista Connect. What about on some of these, like there's the Specialty Coffee Association, and they have a board on the upper echelons of the coffee world and the industry. Is there enough women represented, or is that an area that also needs attention and more balance?
I'm actually not sure how many women they have, sorry, I don't have an answer for this one.
But we'll look into that and come back on that. And then finally, what thoughts do you have for the future? What would you like to be doing ultimately in coffee, and where do you see specialty coffee going in the next few years?
So I'm very excited of my role at the moment. I've been working as a barista for many years and kind of slowly building up to this human resources role, 1 day a week first to now being able to do it full time in a coffee company. So I think that's pretty awesome. Bringing more focus on work, employee well-being, and good work hours and good wages, and just the work-life balance in general. So I think that's a very important area to also focus in the whole industry. So I'm excited for that, and I'm very excited to see how all these competitions are going to evolve. I've been able to judge the national Brewers Cup in Finland, and I've been judging the Coffee Masters, which is an event held in London and New York. I judged that last year in London, and I'm going to also judge it this year. And it's very, very exciting to be on the judges' side of the table, to be able to taste and to see how innovative people are. So for myself, I'm really enjoying that part, and being able to also give feedback, because I feel like feedback is very important to receive. So I'm happy to be in a position where I can also give feedback to others and help other people to grow and figure things out. As a whole, the whole industry, I hope we are going towards a world where there's not just these micro lot, very, very expensive geisha varieties being competed with, but also other amazing high quality coffees that maybe don't have the same brand name as this variety, but a more broader spectrum of quality coffee and what specialty coffee is about, so that the farmers in Ethiopia and the farmers in Kenya and Guatemala would get similar prices than some of these amazing brands. So that's what I'm kind of hoping that in the whole industry wide would happen.
Great. Well, thank you so much for your time. And again, anybody listening, if you get to Copenhagen, which is a fantastic city, go to Coffee Collective. It's one of the great coffee centers in the world, I would say. And I also recommend people check out Barista Connect and find out more about what they're doing. And Mikaela, thank you so very much. I've learned a lot today and really appreciate your time.
Thank you so much, Dennis, for having me.